Hey everybody, it's Mrs. Skank, and we have another day for e-learning because of the weather. And I just really hate to kind of skip out on our new stuff, so I do want to go ahead and dive into one of our language components, one of our reading skills for this quarter, which is to study word structure. We're going to be talking about morphology. So, what is morphology? Well, morphology is the study of roots and affixes and suffixes. That includes prefixes as well. And we're going to be studying a lot of different roots and prefixes and suffixes in more depth than we have in fourth grade so far this year. So, today I want to talk about the root odd. A-U-D, odd. It is pronounced odd. Odd is a Latin root that means to hear or to listen. And words with the root odd often connect to things that involve hearing or listening. So let's look at an example. An example word could be audible. Audible. So able is a suffix we've actually learned so far in fourth grade, and we know that that suffix means capable of or worthy of. So now that you know that odd means something to do with hearing, and you know that able means capable of or worthy of, then what do you think audible means? Well, audible means capable of being heard or able to hear. And audible is actually a company, and you've probably heard or seen commercials. It's a program that you can download on your phones or your devices where you can listen to books and podcasts and stories. So that it makes perfect sense. It's actually a great name for a company where you can listen to things being read to you, because that's what audible means, capable of being heard or able to hear. So here's a sentence that uses the word audible. The sudden crash was audible throughout the entire building. That means we could hear the crash throughout the entire building. Now let's look at some more examples with the root odd. We can read the word, its meaning, and a sentence that contains the word. So audio. Audio means relating to sound that can be heard or transmitted. So my group planned to use audio clips of different animal sounds for our science project. Now, hopefully you can think of a sentence where you might use the word audio. Audition. An audition is a tryout where someone listens to determine if another person is good at singing, acting, or performing. So an example sentence would be, Remika practiced her song every day for the school play audition. So an example at our school is, each year we have a talent show. And if you want to participate in the talent show, you have to submit an audition tape where the teachers who are in charge of the talent show listen and then decide who is capable or best fit for being in our talent show. Another word with the root odd is audience. An audience is a group of people who listen to or watch a performance or event. So as students at Mount Comfort Elementary, you sometimes have to be in an audience when we watch assemblies at school. Audio-visual is another word. Audio-visual means related to or involving things that you can hear and see. Mr. Sterling uses a lot of audio-visual presentations to teach science concepts. This right here, what you're watching, is an example of an audio-visual that I'm using to help teach you on our e-learning day. Audiobook. So like I mentioned Audible earlier, the program, audiobooks are what is on Audible. They're recordings of a book that's being read aloud that somebody can listen to. Another example, yesterday and today you've had to listen to the audiobook of Men of the Mississippi since we haven't been in class together, because that's our weekly story this week, and that's an example of an audiobook. Auditorium. We don't actually have an auditorium at Mount Comfort Elementary, but the Mount Vernon High School has an example of an auditorium. Maybe you've been to it. It's a large room where people gather to listen to or hear performances or speeches. Inaudible. So we know that in means not. That prefix in means not. So inaudible means that you're not able to be heard. So the teacher's instructions were inaudible because the classroom next door was too loud. Or maybe what you're listening to right now is inaudible because there's too much going on at your house, or your little brother's screaming, or somebody's got the TV up too loud. So something you're listening to that you can't hear really well would be inaudible. Auditory. Auditory means related to the sense of hearing. So some students are actually better learners with auditory methods. Like they have to listen to it, listen to stories, listen to songs, listen to their teachers. And some students aren't. Some students have to interact with the learning or be more hands-on or more visual. So there's different types of learning styles, and auditory is one of them. So now let's complete some sentences, and we're just going to kind of talk about this. You're just going to maybe have to kind of think to yourself, or maybe talk out loud to yourself as we go through these. So which word would fit from this list best in the sentence? The blank for the annual talent show will be held next Monday after school. So you've got all these options that we talked about. What would be the best choice? If you decided audition, then you're correct. All right, let's take a look at the next one. The substitute teacher played an blank recording of a famous speech that our teacher wanted us to hear. What type of recording would it be? If you said audio recording, you would be correct. Let's look at the next one. We watched an blank documentary about space exploration in class. It would be an audio-visual documentary. Good. When the microphone stopped working, the speaker's words became what? So if the microphone stopped working, they couldn't hear which word means can't hear. If you said inaudible, you're correct. All right, let's head to the next one. The blank signal for the fire drill echoed through the halls as a loud, repeating beep. The auditory, so something you could hear, the auditory signal. Like when we have a fire drill at school, there's always that loud noise that we hear in the halls so that people who can't see the flashing lights but can hear know that there's a fire drill and they need to exit the building. All right, next up, the entire school eagerly gathered in the blank for the annual teacher talent show. I told you we don't have one of these at MCE, but the high school does. That would be auditorium. Next, our library has a small selection of blank if we want to listen to a story instead of reading. This is something you can do on Epic actually as well. It would be audiobooks. All right, next one. The blank erupted in applause and cheers after the 5th grade choir delivered their performance. So who would applaud and cheer? If you said audience, you're correct. All right, so root word families. Remember, you can add prefixes and or suffixes to words to create some more words. So let's look at some examples of how that works with odd. We've got audition. That means we also have auditions, auditioned, and auditioning, because we can create all those words just by adding some suffixes to audition. He blank for the part of the lion in the school play. He auditioned, past tense. She went to several blank before being chosen for the lead role. Auditions before being chosen. Let's look at some more examples. Audible, we've also got inaudible, right? We talked about how in means not. So despite his efforts, his voice was audible or inaudible over the roar of the crowd. So the crowd's being really loud. It's probably inaudible. We couldn't hear his voice, even though he tried. The thunder was so loud that it was audible from miles away. You could hear it from miles away. So now that we've explored the root odd and we've practiced just a little bit, I do want to put your knowledge to the test with a formative. So you're going to head over to formative and just answer a couple of questions. It's possible that you will need to possibly rewatch this video or bits and pieces of it to help you finish that. All right, let's see how well you can do. I'm sure you're going to do a great job.